Hello everyone, and Konnichiwa minna. Welcome to a little beginner guide, or at least an attempt to a beginner guide for Apex Legends. That's been turned off even though it is a stream, so I can just focus a bit more on the tips, and hopefully this will also not take too long of a time. I have about 17 things that I have noticed during my own gameplay, and I've written them up so I can go over this a little bit smoother. Now, who am I? I'm just a Fox God, Janko Shakura. Am I a pro? Definitely not. Am I good? Sometimes, maybe a little bit. The only thing I can show a little bit is that my standard level that I reach tends to be platinum when I play. Now, with platinum, honestly, the longest, I mean. So platinum 4 is basically where I get, my personal best being platinum 3. Don't look at the diamond badge. Got hacked once and that person was a lot better than me, and these is when I just didn't play rank at all. But let's just get into the tips and tricks. I'm just gonna go to the firing range for now so I can just move around a little bit, and then I will go over them in a hopefully somewhat chronological order. If you are already a veteran in Apex, then this is probably not the stream for you, because this is, as I mentioned, more related for beginners, since I'm not super good personally, but I do notice sometimes things that people seem to be doing a little bit wrong. Now let's obviously start with like number one. Please don't be toxic. Just be polite to each other. Talk with each other if you want, but it's a game, you want to have fun, it's a team game. Getting on someone's nerves is never gonna make a situation better. Even if someone makes a mistake, just don't start flaming, don't start being toxic in chat. Just type and try to stay calm. Alright, that was the little bonus tip or whatever. Tip number one that I see people still do actually in the elo that I'm kind of stuck in at the moment is they drop instantly the moment the airship allows you to drop. Please don't do that. You have no idea how many people are going straight down together with you. It could be only one squad, it could be freaking 6 squads. It's never good. You barely know where on the map you are. That's never useful. You want to know where you're dropping, you want to kind of know how many squads are around you as well. So going straight down is never good. I think people who do this are probably decent at the game already or better, and they don't really mind. But if you want to play ranked, which is kind of what I'm talking about here, because I most of the time play ranked myself, you don't want to just drop down instantly. Tip number two. Please do not hug your jump master all the way to the drop. At the end of your drop, imagining we have a building there, and a building there, please split up. There's a nice lovely button that you can press to release. Take your own part. Try to split up that each goes to a building and not everyone to the same building, because you'll have to share your loot, which is never a good thing. If there's only 3 guns in there, someone picks up 2, that means someone's only gonna be running around with 1, and one other person's even going to be running around with 0. I usually skip jump master, so this cannot happen to me personally, because I release and try to find my own building. Tip number 3. While dropping, please look around. You can always use one of your mouse buttons to just freely look around with the camera. Even if you're jump master yourself, it's always good to know how many squads are around you, to know where they're dropping, so you can always change your location a little bit if that is maybe necessary. Now, tip number 4 is kind of related to it. Personally, I don't really want to drop in a freaking hell spot where there's at least already 3 other squads, because it's gonna be a cluster bomb. And in the low elos, it can be fine, because you don't lose too many points if you just crash land and die. But like for me, I'm like in gold at the moment, since I haven't played so much in Split 2. You lose like a good 30 points if you just lose and are not able to do anything. Now, if this happens a few times in a row because people are just going straight down, like tip number 1, don't do that. It does add up. Imagine going into plat and beyond. So try not to drop on like another 4 or 5 squads. On drop, tip number 5, which actually happened to me 2 days ago. if one of your teammates is spamming the "I still could use a weapon" voice line, please don't go into a fight. Go to another building, escort him if necessary, let the guy get a gun. I had a game 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, where I had 2 guns, one teammate had 2 guns, and then the other person had none. And the person that had 2 guns decided to go into a fight on his own, while I was trying to help our teammate without guns get his freaking guns. So please have at least a little patience of letting everyone catch up on some loot. Now, tip number 6 is what I've been told is sort of the ideal situation. Maybe not for the lower elos, like I mentioned before, your points don't drop as fast in the lower elos. But the moment you actually do want to try and rank up, your ideal scenario, which I have been told, is to try and drop on a spot with decent loot, so usually something that has a name, and with one other squad. You drop, you go to your own building, you loot up, get 2 guns, some ammo, you group up together again, you hunt that one squad which is in your same area somewhere, and then you wipe them, get their loot, and then basically after that you want to play zone. Now with zone, I personally would not recommend to go instantly to the center of the zone, but hang around the border a little bit more. It's kind of what I do, and that's what's been told to me that is like a little bit the better scenario to try and actually gain some rank points. Tip 7. You can ping in this game.
Go here.
Try and ping when you're dropping to what building you want to go, so you don't go by accident to the same building. Seems like a small detail, but it actually does help. And following up on tip number 7 is tip number 8. Use the ping system. I even have a hotkey to just call where enemies are. I personally don't use tip number 9, for example, all the time. Use your voice comms. There is an in-game voice chat. But please, like I said, don't be toxic in there. Now, what I do personally is on streams, because I know that people tend to get toxic and start using swear words, which I try to avoid on streams. I can talk towards the team, but I have them muted. So, in case that would happen,
Enemy here.
use the ping system. It's there. Why not use it? Since the last rework, tip number 10, the zone moves a bit faster and packs a bit more of a punch. So you don't want to linger too long in the zone, or it's also going to hurt more first of all, and it's going to put you under a lot of pressure to start just going straight towards the zone, which then makes people gate camping, you know, a little bit too obvious, since you're gonna be having a hard time. You'll just be running all the time. So what I tend to try not to do anymore, it used to be a thing you could safely do in the beginning. Now if you have like more experience and you know how much ticks you can take and stuff like that, frick, even I don't know that myself yet, but I try also not to go in zone anymore. You used to be able to actually go in zone and still loot up. Now it's recommended, I think, not to do that anymore, or at least not when not necessary. Tip number 11 that I have is don't go for unnecessary fights. I've had one of the games that I just described. We took too long of a time with looting and having a fight. Outside zone. The zone hurt us a lot. And I mean a lot. So what happened then was we finally reached the zone, or we got out of the circle at least. We healed up as far as we could, but we basically could not. So I was about 80 HP, I think, with full armor. And one of my teammates was at, I'm not even joking, I think 10 HP, and the other was at 20. Now we were on a high ground. There was an enemy team on the lower ground, but the enemy team hadn't seen us yet. We could have easily, not even kidding, we could have easily just sneaked past them, loot up some HP somewhere, and then go into a fight. But one of the teammates, the one with 10 HP, above all of that, decided to start shooting, draw their attention. We wiped. I'm not saying don't go for fights. Definitely in the lower elos, it's fine to actually run towards gunfire, kind of. It's more action. It will force you to practice a bit more. But if you do want to rank up, and you notice your team on the, like, you know, bottom left, you see your team status. They're all low HP or they're not armored up. Try to avoid a fight if possible until everyone is at least healed up again and full on shields again, because otherwise it's just not gonna work. And once you get like gold plat, it starts to cost points to even play your ranked games, and it's maybe helpful if you don't have that issue. Tip 12. There is still a third party system. If you hear gunfire, that does mean two parties are fighting each other. You run towards it, you might be able to pick up some points by just shooting the survivors, or mingle in there a little bit, get some downs, and then you might be able to get some points. But of course, with tip 12 comes like the negative side effect. You can also get third party, so try to not make your fights too long, which is kind of the next tip. 13 here. What I've heard by watching someone else's guide is he was talking about a good 20 to 30 seconds. If you're just trading fire for 20 30 seconds without being able to actually do a push or get it down, it's not worth it. Bail out of that fight. Nothing is happening. You're just, both parties are just wasting ammo. You're wasting shield cells or shield bats to regen them up, and you're just making unnecessary noise and drawing unnecessary attention towards yourself to get potentially third party yourself. So if nothing happens in a fight, just bail, go reposition, go get a better position in zone, and then try again when another team comes, or the same team follows you and they maybe get in a bad spot. This was 13 because I did switch them up just now. So with tip number 14, there's also the don't rush fights. I've had people, it was an Octane I think, just jumps in, we had the Revenant, didn't even wait for the Revenant ult or anything like that, which would have been a safer bet. He jumped in and he got knocked. Don't rush in without any reason. But then after that, he did type that he actually cracked 2 people, but he didn't ping anything like going in or ask like the Revenant for his ult, because that would have been the safer bet. So there is also in there the tip of like capitalize when something good does happen. It's a 3-on-3. If one of your teammates actually gets a full down, my brain just says go and push. Now that's maybe not always the best solution, obviously. Like I said, I'm only platinum myself. I'm definitely not a pro. But when something good happens, do try and capitalize on it. Throw a nade to the down or something at least. Because if you don't capitalize and you just stand there and wait for it to be paused, they'll just rest him up again and it's a 3-on-3 again. Which then also will not help. Tip number 15, if I'm not losing count here about it, be a team player. If someone needs shields and you have some in backup or you have some in reserve, give it. Please, from like, you know, both ways. At a game as well, zone took too long. I was at 20 HP when we finally got out of the zone, ran out of meds, ran out of syringes, and there was a medkit right in front of me, and as I tried to pick it up, a teammate yoinked it in front of me with full HP, and he then did not give it back, or like didn't even drop it to be like, okay, actually, you know what, you can use this a little bit more than I can. He just kept it for himself, and I was just struggling with running around with 20 HP until I eventually, luckily enough, found syringes and a medkit. But I've been running around with like that amount of HP for a couple of minutes, so it's always a risky business then. Tip number 16. After a fight, if your teammates are down, or if you're down, and you did wipe an enemy squad, try to do a quick armor swap. What armor swap means, if you're completely new, basically when a player dies, they'll leave your loot, they'll leave a loot box with what they had used. Click on the armor and just use that one. Usually it might be a better one, and when you've killed them, it will be full. If there's nothing to loot, heal up first before you rest your downed allies. At least get a full shield before you start resting. That is the safer bet to do. If you are like 100% sure there's no one, you might be able to rest someone before, but personally I would suggest to like shield up first. If I'm not mistaken, that's even been told to me when I already tried to do a quick rest. I got pushed and was complete flash and I instantly got killed. Of course, when you're lifeline, it's a different rule. You can just spam the drone and then heal up yourself. Now be nice to each other again with tip 17. When you just got rest and your teammate is, for example, still resting another ally, heal up, but let him loot a little bit as well, because he's still using his time to rest both of you, for example. And what I've seen happen is then the rest allies rush to the loot boxes, pick up everything, and the dude that did the hard work survive, pulls you back up on your feet, is suddenly left with nothing to grab. Now, what kind of is related to that as well is shield up before you rest, but don't start emptying all the boxes before you start resting. Getting your teammates up as fast as possible is still something that's going to help a lot compared to, you know, getting your ammo first, because you're still on your own. And so it's not gonna be useful then. But that's gonna wrap it up. It's a lot faster than I thought it would be, so hopefully this is also not too long. These are like the things I have faced personally and things that I have been told personally. Maybe something that now just pops in my head is try to play around cover. I did that really badly at the start when I was playing Apex. I was just always in the open. I was basically a free shot for anyone. Play around cover so you can at least dash away when you need to or hide. And that's gonna wrap it up. As I mentioned before, not a pro. I'm only Platinum 4. I can't get a lot higher than that. But these are some of the mistakes that I think can definitely be avoided to stop losing a lot of points in rank. So hopefully these helped. If they did, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you want. I stream almost daily unless something comes up, and I stream a variety of games from Overwatch to Apex Legends to even RPGs like Final Fantasy XIV. So I hope it helped. Have a wonderful day, evening or night, and bye bye everyone. Bye bye. Bye bye.